Welcome back. It's the Todd and Jerry show. It's been a few weeks. I forgot how to talk a little bit, so bear with me. I might just be cursing a lot this session or making no sense, whatever. But there is so much to talk about. It's September 3rd, 2021. It's kind of like the official start of the school year, which I've been saying for the last few months. September is when shit's really going to start not being fun. It's when coronavirus is probably going to make its big comeback. It's when storms, natural disasters are probably going to start getting worse. It's when the economy is probably going to start getting worse because eviction moratoriums are going to be up, which is also going to drive crime up because people are going to be hungry. And then who knows what the next thing is going to be, maybe aliens, whatever, but there'll be some wild card that makes all five of those things even worse. And it looks like it's kind of coming true. So I think the first thing we'll talk about, I wish we talked about it 2 weeks ago, but we had a little 2-week hiatus. Afghanistan. I don't know. I feel like it was pretty obvious that this was going to happen a month ago. If you said, hey, we're going to just pull out all of our troops in the middle of the night, I'm pretty sure a lot of people would have been like, all right, that sounds like it's going to be a bad situation. But that's what we did. I really don't understand it too much. I feel like the left is blaming Trump, saying, oh, he's the one who started it. The right, I kind of agree with the right here. Biden didn't follow through with anything Trump did except this. So he definitely had the choice to not follow through with this. This was Biden's choice. Don't blame Trump. Biden had the choice to do this or not, and he did it. Why he did it, I have no idea. Should we be in Afghanistan? Probably not. Should we have had a better plan to get out, though? Probably. Should we have just left hundreds, maybe thousands of people there stranded and then gone back a day later saying, I don't even know what we did, because he still says he did the right thing. If he did the right thing, why did you leave and then come back to rescue people? Wouldn't you have just rescued those people from the start? Wouldn't that have been the right thing? What do you think, Todd? I don't really get it.
So I'm definitely with you on this. And the thing you point out about, being like, oh, well, this is Trump's plan. It's like, just like you said, it's like presidents undo what past presidents do all the time. It's basically expected. And especially, when Trump came in, he basically undid a huge amount of Obama's executive orders. Biden did the same thing. And so for now to act like his hands are tied and that's like, well, we made this agreement and I got to stick to it. It's like, okay, let's accept that that's the case. And you know what? I think we should have gotten out of Afghanistan. I think it was sort of, a waste of time and money and whatever else. And certainly the way things have played out, it showed the last 20 years was certainly a questionable activity given how fast everything crumbled over there. But to your point, it's just because you get out doesn't mean you have to basically like have this completely sloppy, unorganized withdrawal. Like the fact that we pulled all these troops out, sent them home, only to then have to turn around and send back new troops. And from what I've been reading and hearing, like the people they sent back were not necessarily people that have ever been in Afghanistan before. So not people who, I
have a friend who's being deployed next month now, which I don't get either, because it says we're pulling out. I literally have a friend being deployed next month. What's he being deployed to?
To Afghanistan specifically, or
to the Middle East? He doesn't know exactly where.
Yeah, man, we got shit going all over the place. And,
but that's just interesting that we're deploying more people as we're pulling out. That seems a little weird. And he's never been either. To your point of like someone who's literally never even been. We're sending new troops.
Yeah, well, and so like the couple things that I've seen, it's like why, like maybe we shouldn't have pulled everyone out until we had evacuation plans in place and certainly starting to run. We also like abandoned the big Bagram Air Base, which was like our main base of operations there. Basically, without notifying the Afghan government, we just like dipped out, Irish exited. And it's like, I know that air base is outside of Kabul, so it might not have been the most convenient location, but if having another secondary location where we could have been shipping people out of, there's no way that could have made this worse, I don't think. And it's, as long as we got all the troops out at some point and, by the deadline or whatever, that's what we needed to do. What we didn't need to do, what that meant is that we didn't need to reduce our troops to such a low level that the evacuation effort was hindered by it beforehand. And the other thing that I've been seeing is that the thing that is the most frustrating to me is, we built up the Afghan military, we built up the Afghan police force, and apparently the way that they had been operating, they had been trained to operate in a way that was completely dependent upon military, like our military logistics and support in terms of surveillance, intelligence gathering, and all this. So it's like we were setting them up for failure from the beginning, because that would be like training someone to run a marathon with the best sneakers ever. And then when it comes time for them to actually run the marathon, it's like, all right, give me those shoes. Here's some flip-flops. Best of luck. Like, it just makes no damn sense. And then the fact that we had this suicide bombing that killed 13 Marines and I think like 50 to 100 Afghans, like, it's just a goddamn mess. And it is so frustrating. And I don't know, because you know what, honestly, like the fact that we weren't training the Afghan military and Afghan police to be able to operate with the resources that they would have in perpetuity, that to me means one of two things. Either one, that we were planning on this to be a forever occupation and that we would just always have some people there, or two, we were setting them up for failure and it was all just a waste of time. Like it just, and the thing that's frustrating, it's like, look, we have troops that we are still occupying Japan, Germany, Korea. We've got stable troop presences there, partly because of the conflicts that we had in those countries, and partly because for managing the geopolitical world, it's good to have your troops spread out around the country. And so even, and I think what I had heard is that we hadn't had anyone die in Afghanistan before the recent suicide bomb attack and since like February of 2020. So it's like, as much as I didn't like the war in Afghanistan, as much as I don't like the occupation, Afghanistan is a very strategically important location. And if we could have sort of held an airbase there and kept the Taliban out of power by having 2,500 troops there that were just running logistics and running support, that might be worth it in the long run if America's still going to play this game of being like a geopolitical leader. Now, like, personal preference would probably be to pull all of our troops out from all over the place and really go like just isolationist and say, you know what, F the world, you guys are on your own. Let China and Russia do their thing, and we will just, make a better America here for the people that live here and not have to worry about all this nonsense. So, yeah, sorry, I rambled there for a while, but
no, it's easy to ramble. I got a few questions about this to continue though. So first off, I feel like there's a lot of like news coming out now that it comes out one day and then the next day there's something that's saying that was wrong, it's conflicted, there's misinformation, whatever. And like, I don't know what I believe anymore, but some of the information I've been hearing. So probably like 3 or 4 days ago, they said the US left like all these helicopters, guns, planes, all this super advanced military equipment, which I tend to believe because it seems like we did leave it there. But then yesterday there's news coming out that said all of that equipment, it doesn't work. I don't know if I believe that.
Well, did you see the video? The Taliban was using what was said in the video to be an American chopper to hang someone. I don't know if you saw that, but they had tied someone to the bottom of one of the skid rails or whatever and just lifted them up and were flying them around Kabul because they were probably a collaborator or it's in some way, upset the Taliban, which I'm pretty sure it's probably pretty easy to upset the Taliban.
Yeah, we probably just upset them now, I'm sure.
Yes, of course, yes. For a vast Taliban listening audience, you can go fuck yourselves, all right?
But what's called? Do you think that that's true? Because like, I don't know if I believe that. I feel like people put that news out to make people not as worried or upset. But it's like, why did we have so many helicopters and guns and whatever equipment there that didn't work? If it didn't work, wouldn't we have started throwing it away or recycling it? Or
there's two things, because I looked into this as well. So with a lot of these, like especially like the helicopters and more advanced weapon systems, making it inoperable could be as easy as literally like pulling out some circuit boards or like pulling out like the brain of it. But look, besides that, we left behind like RPGs, missile launchers, machine guns, pistols, like those things just work. like, and they're super easy to fix.
Yeah,
Like
exactly. Even if you broke it a little and make it inoperable, I'm pretty sure it can be repaired to be operable again.
Yes. And so, like, if nothing else, we certainly gave the Taliban, I think there's something like several million rounds of ammunition were left behind. There's no way to decommission a bullet, like,
Right.
unless you just destroy it. And we didn't. We left behind crates and crates and crates of ammo. Like, if nothing else, we just gave them more bullets than they know what to do with. And then all just like the explosives and everything else. And the other thing, even if they made all the helicopters and all the more advanced stuff inoperable, fine. What are they going to do? They're going to turn around and sell it to the Chinese, the Russians, the Iranians, who are going to then dissect it and start backwards engineering stuff and understanding how our resources, how these machines work. So
Right.
even if they are inoperable, that's still incredibly valuable to the Taliban because that's just a new revenue stream for them.
And incredibly dumb on our part. And what I don't enjoy, I guess, or like, is when we make a mistake and then we say, no, it wasn't a mistake, like it was the right thing to do. Like, why can't we admit that it was wrong to leave that much equipment behind? Instead, we're like, oh, it was inoperable, it's not a big deal. It's like, no, that's not an excuse, I don't think.
No, well, and it's weird because, like, look, when we left Vietnam, we left a lot of stuff behind too. I went to the War Museum in what was formerly Saigon, now Ho Chi Minh City, and they've got they've got American jets there, they've got tanks, they've got artillery, basically being like, look at the weapons of the mighty army that we defeated. And I'm sure, Afghanistan will probably have a similar display. The Taliban will probably look at all this cool shit that they had all of this against us and we still beat them. And so, yeah, no, I think but you're absolutely right. The spinning of this and trying to brand it as a success is absurd. Because look, I think even if the plan was better for the evacuation, I am sure that it still would have been chaotic. Like, no one was expecting it to just be like, everyone gets out and you just give the ticket to the person and you get on the plane and leave. Like, no, of course not.
Yeah.
But it just seems like we did a lot of things that were seemingly like, look, I'm not a soldier. I've never been in charge of troops, but it's like some of this stuff feels like sort of no-brainers in terms of the way it should have been done.
Well, I don't think most politicians have much of a brain that they're using. Like, so
no, absolutely not. Certainly not Biden.
No.
But
whoever he listened to, I don't know why he listened to it this time. This one seemed pretty dumb.
Like, honestly, I am perplexed by this whole thing. Like, I am super confused. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. I just don't get it.
Doesn't make sense.
And, another detail that I want to bring up is I think they keep on harping. It's like, look, we got everyone out except maybe a couple hundred Americans that weren't able, and that they're going to keep getting them out. If you notice, and you got to always listen to the language of people, they keep stressing American citizens, American citizens. What they're not talking about is that we apparently left behind a whole shitload of people that are green card holders, which are legal permanent residents of the United States. They're not talking about them because that number, I don't even know if they have an accurate count on it, but it's likely to be far higher than the American citizens. And that's a really uncomfortable point for them to have to address or look at.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the information that we're getting, to no one's real fault, it's not accurate. It's coming from Afghanistan, where there's a lot of shit going on. So I feel like just all of the information, you really don't even know what is actually true or how much of it's true, how delayed it is. It's changing quickly. So those numbers, I tend to think everything we're hearing is being sugar-coated a bit, and it's probably all a lot worse than even we see.
I think you're absolutely right on that. And I think the other big bad echo of this is that no one is denying that we did leave behind a whole lot of our Afghan helpers, people that were translators, people that were informants, people that were wherever. They're toast. I assume that most of them will end up,
if they're still around, they're probably already gone.
Yes. I mean, well, it'll take a lot of them are in hiding. And I assume that what we'll have for the next year or two or three or whatever, it's, oh, hey, you're that guy who used to help the Americans. How about you come outside with me for a minute? And now it's shot in the street, left for dead like a dog. And that's that. And But the thing is, it's, not that I'm encouraging war, but it's going to be inevitable knowing the course of history and how America acts. And the next time we're occupying some country, whether it's for 1 year, 10 years, or 1 month, trying to get people to help us in that country and being like, hey, don't worry. If you help us, we'll bring you home with us.
Yeah.
They're not going to do anything.
Yeah.
They're not going to help us. So, it's definitely, it's just not a good look. And it's just very upsetting. And it's the way the administration has been spinning this and doing this is disgraceful. I don't know if you saw the controversy when Biden went to, when they were offloading the bodies of the 13 Marines at Dover Air Force Base, they caught him checking his watch while they were offloading them.
Damn.
And there was a picture of it, one picture, and then they were interviewing I think a father of one of the Marines, and he said, oh, they only got one photo of it, but he was checking his watch constantly. It's
No
like, listen,
way.
motherfucker, you sent those boys to die over there, and you can't even pay your respects for
Damn.
20 minutes, 30 minutes, however long it would have taken. It's just, it's insane. And I'm just fed up with this administration, but hey, at least there's no mean tweets, right? Like,
Yeah, no,
I'm
interesting how so many people are completely cool with all of this just because of that. It's like everything's politically correct. Biden's saying, hey, we're doing the right thing. We're here to save you. And just because he says that, everyone's happy, even though what's actually happening is like a lot of the same as what it's been the last 10 years. Nothing's really changed too much. But I want to bring up another point. I'm going to hijack this topic too. It's very similar though, or I feel like it's similar enough, or at least there's one word that's similar, and then I'm going to go with that. And I kind of have a few talking points with this again. So the key word is evacuate. Do you know what I'm going to talk about?
Probably New Orleans.
Yep, New Orleans, the whole Northeast, all of that. So I have like 10 different angles to go here. First things first, and it's back to our hypocrisy. I'm attacking all of the people that I'm kind of like come from and that I've been friends with that are just being hypocritical and not making sense. Why is everyone saying, and I'm pro-vax, I think everyone should get vaccine. If I was a dictator, if I was president, I would be a dictator. I would stab everyone to make sure they get a vaccine. I'm for the vaccine. But
in the streets with the shots.
Hell yeah. But why are people saying, hey, everyone should get a vaccine? I agree with you. And then when the governor of Louisiana or the mayor, whoever it was, said to evacuate, you didn't evacuate. Aren't we all to help each other? Aren't we supposed to do the right thing no matter what? Why are people staying in New Orleans? Why did people not evacuate? You are putting yourself in danger, good for you, but you're putting all of the first responders in danger too. The first responders had emergency calls in the first 10 minutes of the hurricane landing in New Orleans. They knew it was going to be bad. There wasn't a lot of warning, but there was a warning. Why didn't people heed the warning and say, hey, maybe I should evacuate? If I was president, dictator, if I become president, be worried because it's going to be a dictatorship. But if I was president, I would say, hey, if you stay there, there's no help for the next 3 weeks. You're done. It's your choice. You're done. Same thing with the vaccine. You don't get the vaccine, you're not coming to a hospital. Like, I don't care. You want to make the risk, then you have to deal with the risk. I just don't really get that. Then on top of that, I got two other things. We'll see what you gravitate towards. Also, why do we build back in New Orleans?
Thank you. I was going to get to that.
Why do we build back there? It's going to happen again. They said this thing is going to take at least 5 years to rebuild. Guess what? In less than 5 years, there's going to be another hurricane that comes. Why rebuild? They also say in 100 years that New Orleans isn't going to exist because of water rising. If in 100 years it's not going to exist, why are we rebuilding? Makes no sense. My last thing. Why are we, I feel like this is back to the Afghanistan people a little. I kind of jumbled them together. Why are we accepting refugees from one place, but not accepting refugees from everywhere? Why do we say we want equality, but we don't want equality? We value some people higher than others. Why are we accepting Afghani refugees, but not accepting Cuban refugees from the hurricane, or Jamaican refugees, or the whole Caribbean who got wiped out, or Mexico. Mexico got rocked too. Why aren't we accepting them in? Why aren't we accepting literally anyone? We're accepting Afghanistan, that was literally our enemy a couple of years ago, but we won't accept anyone else. Makes no sense to me. It seems backwards. And like, I hate that we fight for equality, but there's no equality at all. We value some people more than others, very obviously.
Yeah, no, okay. So you said a lot there, and I'm gonna go through it. So one, on your point about New Orleans, have you been to New Orleans?
Yeah, it was still rebuilding when I went there from Hurricane, Katrina.
So I love New Orleans. It is definitely one of my favorite cities in the world. The food scene, the people, the music, just the vibe. It's great. However, I completely agree. Did you know New Orleans is below sea level?
Yeah.
I think it's 8 feet below sea level, I think. And it has the ocean on one side of it and a giant lake on the other. So it is basically a bowl with 2 giant bodies of water surrounding it. And I said the same thing after Katrina. I'm like, look, I love this city. It's great. But we really got to start asking. And look, especially if the narrative, and look, I'm not going to deny global warming. Don't get me going on that. But like, if we're saying that sea levels are going to rise, hurricanes are getting worse, maybe we shouldn't have cities that are below sea level that are bordering the Gulf of Mexico with a lake on the other side of them. I don't know, mind-blowing idea. Like, and it would be weird to sort of like cut and run from an entire city, but at some point I do feel like we got to be like, look, man, you just can't live there. Or to your point about sort of like, helping people out. It's like, look, if New Orleans wants to become a self-sustaining entity that doesn't take federal dollars, or if Louisiana wants to continue to support it, but like at some point, you and me and other people shouldn't have to pay to rebuild the city that is in a just shit situation for no other reason. And look, I know there's a port there, there's valuable trade aspects, so I get it. And like, you and I are not probably educated, included enough to really know the whole like economic impact of if we just like abandon New Orleans. But it does seem like we either need to greatly build up seawalls there or get a better system for making sure, because look, it's always going to get slammed by a hurricane. It's always going to get rain. It's always going to get wind. But maybe there's a way to keep the city from flooding in the way that it does. And I know they've got these levee systems that have pumps that remove water, and it's like, maybe we just need to take those to like 10 times better and just say, we're going to do this one giant investment. This is our last go of it, and we're going to maintain that. And that's going to be enough to handle a hurricane that's 10 times as bad as Katrina or 10 times as bad as Ida. Like if we need New Orleans, if we can't live without it in terms of economic and trade reasons or whatever, figure out a way to make that city sustainable without always having to do this scrambling and rebuild every single goddamn time a decent hurricane runs through.
Makes no sense.
But and to the other point that you brought up, so look, I agree with leaving. Like if someone wants to not evacuate during a hurricane, a volcano, or whatever, I agree. Leave them behind. They don't need to be. Now, your point about if people don't want to get vaccinated, we shouldn't give them healthcare. I disagree on that. Because
no, not healthcare. They shouldn't have they shouldn't get a spot in the hospital, which is kind of healthcare, but.
So, okay, so 2 things. Here's what I think. Let's say that the hospital is completely full up. You have literally 1 bed left. 2 people show up, exact same age, exact same everything. One's vaccinated, one's unvaccinated. I would treat the vaccinated person. I agree with you there.
Yeah.
That scenario is not happening. But beyond,
but it is happening a little bit. Not in our city, but there's been some cities where very preventable instances, or like, I think someone had cancer or something, but it was like an easy operation for the cancer. I forget exactly what it was.
It was a guy. He had like gallstones that were causing like a backup of toxins in his body, and he couldn't get in an ICU bed, and he ended up dying. And it was sad because this guy's like, he was like a military veteran, family man, and
you surprised someone unvaccinated in that hospital. I would have put that person on the street.
That 100% happened, and it was tragic. And I was annoyed when I read that, because it's like, God damn it, people, just get your goddamn shot. Like, come on. And,
right. Or if you're going to be a man and be like, I can fight COVID, be a man and fight COVID. Don't go to the hospital.
Yeah, exactly. But I think it's interesting because this is a point, and it's funny because people on the left have brought up this whole thing about like, don't treat them in the hospital, don't, they shouldn't get healthcare or whatever. And I'm not saying you're saying that, but I'm saying that that is definitely something that's getting kicked around online, on Twitter, wherever else. And it's really interesting because it's like, okay, so if we're going to say that we shouldn't treat people that don't make the right health decisions, so does that mean we don't treat smokers anymore, or we don't treat really fat people with diabetes anymore? Or
I'm for it. I'm for it.
Of course, your skinny little ass would be.
No, and my thing is though too, it's like I'm not gonna say you have to be skinny or you have to eat healthy, but you have to like try and move in the right direction, I guess. It's like you shouldn't be, if you're smoking cigarettes, like I know like it's hard, you get addicted, whatever, but there should be a an intention or a goal of trying to smoke less cigarettes. Like I've been smoking weed. I've been trying to quit smoking weed for the last year, where I would be penalized as well. But I would, it'd be nice if I go online and I answer these questions and I'm part of a support group and it looks like I'm trying to quit, I'm just not doing it, then like my extra pay for insurance will be only a little extra instead of more extra. I just wish like people would attempt to get better instead of just like accepting the fate of what it is.
So here's what I would agree with. And actually, so I do agree that if companies or health insurance companies want to start saying, hey, look, if you're unvaccinated, your premiums just went up, I'm fine with that. Because I
think it started happening a bit.
It has. Well, it was interesting. So the airline with the worst name ever right now, Delta, they announced that all their unvaccinated employees would have to pay $200 extra per month if they were unvaccinated for their health insurance. And I was like, great, good, makes sense. I love it. Yeah. Like, is that, what, and I like that because it's not denying anyone healthcare. It's just saying you're going to have to pay more if you're making this choice. It's a free choice they can make. And Delta's a private company, well, sort of private, as much as airlines are private these days. And they did the right thing. I think that's the right thing to do. And if that's going to be what it's going to take to get some people vaccinated. Because I guarantee there are some people that worked at Delta that were like, I ain't taking this vaccine. Yeah. And then it's like, oh, well, shit, I'm not paying $2,400 extra a year. Not doing that. Give me that shot. Yeah. And I'm cool with that.
And I feel like that looks a little bit bad. I feel like it'd be a little better if they were able to do, if they were able to give the people who got vaccinated $200. You know what I mean? Same thing, but kind of like different to not penalize the non-vaxxers, but to reward the vaxxers.
Man, and as much as I dislike him, I think it was Bill de Blasio, that jerk off. He made a comment about like, look, we used carrots and sticks, and at this point we're done with the carrots. It's time for the sticks. And like, there are two ways to get people to do something. You incentivize them or you punish them, or a positive or negative incentive. And at this point, like, I think we are firmly into negative incentive time. It's time to start whacking people if they don't want to get vaccinated, and if you live in a city or work for a company that is doing that and you don't like it, quit, move, or shut the fuck up, or get your shot. I don't know what to tell you, but it's I'm self-employed for a reason, because I don't want to have to deal with a lot of nonsense and being told what to do, and that affords me a level of freedom that other people don't have. And I still chose to get the shot. And I'd do it again if I had to. So, But the whole thing is, man, I think like you said, with schools and everything. So you think they're going to shut down schools again?
Yeah, I kind of do. I don't know. I don't know what it's going to look like that though, because I don't think parents are going to be down with it. But I think this year it's crazy. Everyone's like, "Oh, 2020 was horrible." 2021 was worse.
It was funny at the end of 2020. I mean, I might have told you this when we just had one of our random bullshit sessions. Yeah. That I was like, everyone thinks 2021 is going to be better. And I'm like, it's not. It's going to probably be frustrating and worse. And then
January 6th started the year off.
Yep. Well, that's what I told everyone. I was like, I told all you dumbasses. I told you all. I was like, you all thought 2021 was going to be this panacea, and then all of a sudden everything's going to be great. It's like, what are you smoking?
Yeah. And then thinking of like COVID, it's crazy because at least in Philly, or I'm sure where you are too, actually, it's not that bad, and it's been fairly normal. There's like parts where you're like, oh, like it might come back, but it's been fairly normal. You can go about your life. You just have to like wear a mask sometimes. But overall it's pretty normal. But in some parts of the country, it's going insane. The numbers, and I know the numbers can be skewed, and like sometimes like it doesn't mean as much as it might say or whatever, but our COVID cases are 5 times higher than last year at this time.
Yes. Well, so this interesting on this, and I'm big into statistics and all this, and I took research methods in college. This is the major I was in, and you're a math guy, so you'll get it. So to some point, like, look, yes, obviously cases are increasing now, but a couple things. One, compared to when the pandemic waves were first happening, we have all the testing infrastructure set up. So to some degree, the increase we're seeing is based on the fact that we're able to detect them and that we're able to actually know the cases now. Everyone is also aware of COVID, much more likely to get tested. It's super easy to get tested.
Right.
So there is an artificial increase of some percentage based on who knows what it is. But again, the thing is, and it's funny because if you noticed, when COVID was first raging, the media and everyone all focused on deaths, the death counters. Every time you turn on the TV, CNN would have it in the bottom corner, number of deaths. Now they're not talking about deaths. They're talking about cases because even though we need more people vaccinated, we have enough where these cases, they're not killing nearly as many people. So it's inconvenient to talk about deaths. It's really convenient now to talk about cases in terms of the scaremongering statistic they can use.
Right. Which also is interesting just to note, and I feel like no one really knows, but it's something to just to take note of, is with viruses, a lot of times, from what I've read and studies, a lot of times when they mutate, they become more transmissible, more contagious, but less deadly.
Yes.
Which seems to be kind of what might be happening with Delta variant. Is it's spreading more people are getting it, but it's not necessarily killing people more. I think the risk, though, is without nipping it in the butt and completely eliminating it, you run the risk of eventually getting a mutation that is more deadly.
Well,
and
it's interesting.
And so if you get one of those, then we're screwed again, kind of.
Yeah, well, and it's interesting because, a virus is an animal just like any other organism. And so its goal evolutionarily is to spread, multiply, and have as many of it as possible. So viruses that kill a lot of people, or that kill people quickly, they do a really bad job of spreading because people don't have time to spread the virus around. So that's the theory behind that. As viruses mutate, they get more transmissible, less deadly, because that's what allows the virus to spread more.
Right.
I've seen articles on both sides of it saying that it is more deadly, it's not more deadly. At this point, like, the most frustrating part of COVID at all is that these trust the science assholes, and like anyone who says I trust the science, I'm immediately like, well, I don't trust you because you're a dumbass.
Because science doesn't trust itself. Science is all about like continuing to test the hypothesis and make sure it's true, and science changes over time.
Exactly. So like so I just don't know. And you made a comment about we're going to get rid of COVID. We're never getting rid of COVID. COVID's going to be the cousin of the flu, and that just is what it is. Like, it's going to be around forever. We're never getting rid of it. Like, these people that think that we're going to eliminate COVID, or that 10 years from now we won't have people dying of COVID, they're wrong. We will. COVID will be killing people until the day you and I die. That's just a fact of the matter.
One last little point I kind of want to bring up, because we're definitely going long, but there's so much good shit to talk about. But yesterday, 3,000 people died. That's kind of a lot. And like, what's interesting with that number, what I find the most interesting, we went to war with Afghanistan over that number. 2,000 people died 9/11. Not that many. We have over 2,000 dying more days out of the year than not. And we're not really doing much about it. It's just interesting, back to statistics, how like certain numbers can get people going, other numbers people don't care about at all. And it's the same number. It's just in a different circumstance. It's like a little interesting, but 3,000 people is definitely a lot. I actually didn't know it was that much. 1 week ago or 2 weeks ago, it was less than 1,000. So we've definitely gone up quite a bit in the last week or two, which is super interesting. I didn't notice that, and I'm kind of downloading all of this right now. the Afghanistan thing has been happening the last 2 weeks. People kind of haven't been paying attention to other stuff and COVID and all that. That's a pretty dramatic increase in a quick amount of time. We had less than 100 deaths in a day in July. So we were pretty close to nipping it in the butt. I know we're not going to nip it in the butt, but we got it pretty low, less than 100 deaths, and we're at 3,000 now. That's wild.
Yeah. No, it's not good. Listen, we've talked a lot about a lot of heavy stuff today, and I know we're running long, but I want to bring up one other story that you may or may not know about that's a little more fun.
Come on,
so the Chinese government, the CCP, they just implemented and sort of started another cultural revolution where they are going against attacking basically like online influencers, video games, and basically like social media culture. And it is super interesting, and I find it hilarious. So they recently said that school-age children cannot play any video games during the week. I think they can have 1 hour on the weekends. And they've also started basically, I think, like erasing some very popular like celebrities in China. There's apparently like she was like the most famous celebrity in China, and they've gone through and basically erased her from all records, anywhere, like any TV show or movie she appeared in, like in their like online IMDb or whatever, she's no longer listed as appearing in the show. And I just think it's absolutely hilarious. And like part of me likes it because it's like I don't like the Chinese government. I don't like the CCP, but I respect them in their game. Because it's like, damn, man, like you figured out how to use communism and dictatorship and capitalism to create this just like roaring economic engine. And I think it's hilarious. Now, the other thing they're going after is effeminate men and saying that like we're going to start getting rid of like images of effeminate men. So like, while in America now, you see articles of it being like, it's cool for dudes to wear dresses, not even trans, just saying just like, cisgender men. It's like consider wearing like a sundress. It's fun and liberating. It's like, and China's like, hey, knock it off with that sissy shit. It's just like, I don't know, man. It's wild. Did you hear about that story though?
I heard parts of it. Yeah, China is a league of their own. I don't know how anyone says they like China, to be honest. Like,
no, I don't get it.
It's not a good place.
No, and I went to Hong Kong, I think about 6 months to a year before the CCP basically took it over without firing a shot. And that is super sad because that city was vibrant. The people were nice. There was just so much going on. And to see that just taken and put under the thumb of such a repressive regime is a bummer.
And supposedly that situation is probably worse after what we did in Afghanistan too.
Absolutely.
It makes us look like we're not actually going to protect a lot of the people we said we're going to protect, which puts them in danger of getting more taken advantage of.
Look, if I were living in Taiwan, I would be scared shitless. Is all I'm going to say. Like,
yeah, I'd be planning to come here.
So, all right, man. But
well, it was an awesome reunion show. I had a blast. I learned a lot as always. We probably got hopefully we got a couple more listeners. We definitely got a couple more haters and people who don't like us, but that's a good thing, I think, kind of, maybe, whatever. But see you next week. Love you as always, and have a good rest of the day.
Peace.